Yeah, here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Monday edition of Before You Bet, airing live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. Smash that subscribe and like button right down there if you're watching on YouTube. Going old school today with the wired-in headphones and mic. Had some technical difficulties in our pre-show meeting, but we figured it out. Okay, so we have a lot to get into today. The NBA Finals still doesn't start until Thursday, but we're going to be making some series-wide bets today on the show, giving it our best bets here. We'll cover game one on Wednesday and an avalanche of action in Major League Baseball. Pretty good-looking betting board there today on the diamond. Okay, let's bring in my co-host for the day, the Magic Ass Man, Jon Metler. Metler, how was your weekend?
Good. Why is the NBA Finals so far away? It's just like we had the whole weekend. I was like, okay, I'll chillax a bit, watch some film. And then it's like Monday and we're still, like you said, Thursday. Oh my God.
Yeah, they got to get away from having just like a hard start date. It's not the Super Bowl. There's no need to do this. They got to have something worked out. We're like, okay, the NBA Finals will begin 3 or 4 days after the conference finals wrap up. For example, something like that. It's got 10 days off for the Celtics. Last time they had 10 days off was coming into the regular season, for God's sake. So absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so we're going to get into that, but I want to open today's show by talking about the story of the weekend out of sports. Yes, there was some hockey, there was some UFC, some Major League Baseball, but the story in sports out of the weekend was this Caitlin Clark thing. A Chicago Sky player calls her a bitch and hip checks her. Yes, it was ugly. Yes, it was petty. Yes, it was very dirty, very ugly looking. It was also very good for business because everybody's talking about the WNBA on a Saturday afternoon. How often can you say that? And I don't necessarily like it. I don't necessarily like WNBA, but here I am opening my show on Monday talking about the WNBA. So it's the old expression, any press is good press. I think if this happened in the NBA, it might not be that big of a deal. I think people would like it. Anthony Edwards was the flavor of the month in the NBA last month. Had Luka checked him into the stands, hit a three in his face, called him a bitch. I think people might actually like it. So, John, I think this is going to go away eventually. You know, Caitlin Clark, 5-6 games into the season? Like I said, I don't follow the NBA or WNBA, but here I am talking about it, right? Because it is an interesting story. Angel Reese, very petty. You know, it seems like a bit of a one-sided rivalry mainly. But what do you make of the situation out of the weekend in the WNBA?
Kind of what you said, where it's almost like, they're getting so much attention. Actually, some of our social guys here at Covers were pointing out to me, like, even if you go look on Twitter for like the WNBA, you'll see like accounts that are like fan accounts of the WNBA who have been on Twitter for like a long time and say they have like 5,000 followers and like their WNBA tweets are getting like 300,000 impressions. So like they're at an all-time high for like even, you know, that scenario where she got body checked. That was another perfect example of you're just seeing like a lot of press for the WNBA. In terms of like the actual like basketball side of things, I saw their head coach in like the press conference. She was like, "Oh, I'm not going to say too much. I don't want to get fined." I would start saying a lot more if I was the head coach. I probably would step out and get fined, or I would draw up. I don't want to get too dirty here, but like, I mean, you could set one illegal screen, right, or something. They gotta protect her. She's getting beat up pretty good. Like I saw people they're saying, you know, if someone would have done that to Steph Curry, Draymond Green would have been suspended for 5 games, whatever his follow-up actions were. Or even like if someone body checked Luka Doncic, you don't think PJ Washington would be in there mixing up with that person. Like
exactly.
You're not kind of used to it, but like I get it both ways. It's like good drama and good media, like what happened, but at the same time, she can't get injured. Like if she has an injury and she misses 10 games, they have so much momentum right now. It's great for the WNBA. You want to see it keep going. I'm going to it's in August, Seattle Storm, Indiana Fever. I'm driving down to Indiana for a game. I've never been to a WNBA game. So right there, that tells you, you know, the presence she has and what she's bringing. I don't want to see her get injured. I bought those tickets with the intention she's playing, right? So
yeah, the golden goose. You don't want to what's the expression? Not kill the golden goose, but something along those lines. But yeah, like I said, I have no interest in the WNBA, or I hadn't up until this point. But next time the Indiana Fever and Chicago Sky are playing. I don't know when that is, but that's something that's going to be on my radar. It's pretty interesting. Greg in the live chat weighing in, WNBA sizzling hot with the media. Absolutely. Speaking of the live chat here, guys, if you want to participate in the show, it's very easy to do so. Let us know who you think is going to win the NBA Finals and in how many games and why you think they're going to do so. Also, if you've already hit the bet button on any bets today in Major League Baseball, let us know what those bets are. Help us out and help out your fellow viewers, and we will read a few off throughout the course of the show. Okay, John. So we have a handful of series-long bets here. Now, it's not quite the Super Bowl with the NBA Finals, but sportsbooks are, offering more and more. A lot of really good betting options here. I'm going to get us started with basic as you can get, which team I think is going to win the series. If you've been watching the show, you know who it is. I like the Dallas Mavericks coming in here at plus 184. That was the price over at FanDuel as of this morning. I'll say it again. A lot of red flags here for Boston with a lack of competition and too much time off. They play the Heat without Jimmy Butler, the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell for a few games, the Pacers without Halliburton for a few games. Those teams without those players probably aren't even playoff teams. So this team hasn't been challenged in a very long time. Now they have a major step up in competition and 10 days rest. Way too much. So a lot going on here for the Celtics. Dallas's statistics in the playoffs on par with Boston's despite playing a much better level of competition. Of note, they rank higher in free throw attempt rate. They're committing fewer free throws or committing fewer turnovers, more offensive rebounds, holding their opponents to a lower effective field goal shooting percentage. And they have the best player on the court in Luka. Luka absolutely foaming at the mouth multiple times in the T-Wolves series. Boston quite simply doesn't have that. And we have seen this Boston team get up close to the finish line here before, they making it to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple times. They made it to the finals against the Warriors a couple of years ago, and then they collapse. So I don't know what's different about them this time around. So I like the Mavericks, and bonus bet here. If you like the Mavericks to win the series, you might as well just take Luka to win MVP too, plus 205. He's going to be the best player if they're going to win the series, most likely. And this is a common strategy you see in the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs are going to win. Well, just take Patrick Mahomes to win MVP. You get a better price. So same strategy here with that. So Dallas to win, Luka to win MVP. Series-long bet for you, John. Get us started with Porzingis. What do you like for him?
Yeah, what did you call him last week?
Porzingis.
Yeah. So ironically, I'm going Kristaps Porzingis over. So this is not a typo. It's 15.4 points per game. This is what it was posted at DraftKings, minus 110. So for me in this series, like you look at Porzingis and his game one. Sorry, let's backtrack here. This whole market. So DraftKings has, you can bet like someone's points per game, assists per game, rebounds per game. They have this for a lot of the players. They kind of price this where they took like the game one total that you'd be seeing on these players and made it like their series long total, pretty close to it. And I think that's a big mistake for Kristaps Porzingis because 15.5, that's his game one points total. That's also being priced very cautiously because they just don't know if his minutes will be reduced in any capacity coming back from the injury. The one thing is I'm not sure his minutes will be reduced. They talked about him coming back after game two. He ultimately never came back in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't know if that was because they're up 2-0, Halliburton was out. And now you also have like 10 more days between when they've played and not. So is he going to see reduced minutes? They said he was a full go-up participant at practice. So I think if you grab this 15.4 points per game, game one, he's 15.5 points, but this is for the whole series. And like, there's a good chance like game 2, 3, 4, once you get deeper in the series, like his total usually trades between like 18.5, 20.5. So I think they kind of ran this off of his game one total, and it's not really representative of like what his actual points total could be in the series. And also in the series, I do think he has a big role. He's going to be a floor spacer. He's going to get a lot of catch and shoot three opportunities because they're going to have to pull Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford away from the rim. And those guys are going to want to hang out near the rim. So it could lead to some open three-point looks where they're trying to protect the rim and they got to run out to close out on Porzingis. So I think he has a role. I just think this is a price that might have, it's like kind of, they were just working off the game one totals. I think it kind of might got lost that that's not actually who he is. And like, as the series progressed, I think that 15.4 looks pretty good to me. So it's also points per game, not in one game or something. So it says he has to play at least 3 for it to be live. Otherwise it's void. So if he's out with injury, it could go void.
Okay, poor Dinky to go over 15.4 points per game in the series. You guys know I like Luka. I like him to lead this series in three-pointers made. This one's going off at even money right now. So, quick breakdown here. He leads all players in the playoffs in three-pointers made. He leads all players in this series in three-point attempts. You're going to see a lot of games in the series where he has double-digit three-point attempts. He's averaging about 1.5 more per game than Derek White, who's the next closest to him. And I think this is very fair value considering he's minus 205 to lead the series in points. So Luka to lead the series in three-pointers made, even money on that one. John, you have a bet you like for Luka as well.
Yeah, it's to have the most assists in one game in the whole series. So it's Luka Doncic, just minus 170. I only saw this market at Bet365, so you're gonna have to go to Bet365 if you want to place this. Obviously, not very appealing from a juice standpoint of minus 170. I just, if the Mavericks were playing like literally anyone else, where there's like a huge focus on a superstar player who dominates the ball as much as Luka Doncic does, this could be like a scarier prop. I just don't see how someone on the Celtics, like their usage is so spread out. I just don't see how someone on the Celtics can even touch a number that Luka Doncic can with his assists. So like Luka Doncic is trading game one, for example, he's trading 8.5. There's a good chance there's a game where he gets to 10, and I think his total probably will be like closer to 9.5 as we move through the series. So like every game you have a chance at Luka Doncic essentially getting 10. And you just look at the Celtics roster, even if someone has a really, really good game on the Celtics, like what's their ceiling? Like 10 assists. They don't really have a guy who gets into double digits. It's so spread out amongst everyone. I just don't think, I think you're going to see like one game where Luka Doncic has 12, maybe 13, 11, 12. I just don't think anyone on the Celtics can even get there at that point, at that number. It's not like if it was like Luka Doncic versus even Halliburton, or like, so there's just not someone who like dominates the ball. It gets so spread out across the Celtics. It's not obviously the most fun bet, minus 170, but I think he wins it.
Okay, next up for me, over at DraftKings, they have head-to-head players going against each other who will have more points in the series. I think really good value on Jaylen Brown, plus 120 to have more points than Kyrie Irving in this series. I actually don't think he should be the underdog in this matchup. I think Kyrie Irving should be plus 120, not Jaylen Brown. The reason I like Brown in this matchup against Kyrie, he's averaging more than 2 points per game in these playoffs than Kyrie is. He's also averaging more shot attempts. He has been Boston's most efficient scorer in the playoffs. He's only averaging 1 point fewer per game than Jason Tatum, but he's shooting it much better. 10% from the field, 8% better from three-point land. Tatum really struggling from three-point land in the playoffs. And here's the thing with Kyrie, very inconsistent scorer in these playoffs. Yes, multiple games where he's crossed 30 points, but he also has 5 games where he's had 16 points or less. So I like Jaylen Brown there. Pretty good plus money, plus 120 to have more points than Kyrie Irving in this series. I bet you Kyrie going to get a nice standing ovation from the Celtics fans here on Thursday night, right? Okay, John, wrap up this section of the show for us. Derek White, you have a bet on him.
So it's similar to the Luka Doncic one. This is Derek White, most threes made in one game. Once again, this is also at Bet365. The most sportsbooks have like for the entire series. This one's just to make the most in one game. So Derek White, he's trading around like plus 250 to make the most threes in the entire series, but he's plus 500 to make the most threes in just one game. And I feel like that's more who he is. I don't think he can keep pace with Luka Doncic over 6-7 games. Luka Doncic is just going to get more attempts, have more volume. But in terms of like one game, I think Derek White can definitely be this guy. He is someone who, like you've seen in the past, he'll have a game where he'll shoot 10, 12, 15 threes in one game, and he can turn into an absolute flamethrower, knocking down threes. You're going to have to get, I think you're going to have to get to like maybe 5, 6 made threes, maybe 7, but probably 6 is probably where you need to like win this. And Derek White has done that. So I think this is a much better market. I totally agree with Joe. Like Joe said, he likes Luka Doncic to hit the most threes in the series. I agree. I wouldn't take Derek White in that market, but in terms of like having one explosive game, I think this suits Derek White way better. And it's also just kind of ironic that he's plus 250 for that market and he's plus 500 in this market. Obviously, more people come into play in this one, but I just think this really suits Derek White a lot better. Luka Doncic kind of will be the primary defender on him, and Luka Doncic sometimes doesn't have the fastest closeout on defense. So you can see Derek White, Drew Holiday will probably another guy. They're going to get some open threes via kind of Doncic guarding him. So I like White. in that market.
58% of the live chat has the Mavs winning the series. I think if you don't really have a horse in the race, if you're not a Celtics fan, you're not a Mavs fan. I think most people, I don't have a horse in the race. I am a Mavs fan for this series, so I don't care about them during the regular season. I was actually against the Mavs. I was pissed off at them last season where they kind of tanked and they threw the season away to get the draft pick. I thought that was a pretty shitty thing of them to do. I don't think that really had much of an impact on how things worked out for them this season. But
they drafted Derek Lively.
Oh, Derek Lively. That's who they got with the 10th pick. Okay. I stand corrected.
Ironically, Oklahoma City Thunder drafted him and traded him on draft night to Dallas. So the fact that they knocked out the Thunder too, that was kind of an interesting I'm sure you can go back in my tweets. I kind of made fun of him, like you tanked for Derek Lively. That's not going to change much of your whole future. And actually they could win a title this year, which is insane. But
he's been a good player for them.
Yeah.
Okay, before we switch over to Major League Baseball, closing in on about 900 viewers live across YouTube, most of those on X right now. Guys, hit up that live chat. Let us know what bets you were on for the NBA Finals and for today's Major League Baseball games. Now, John, before we get into the picks for baseball, I have a little bit of a theory for baseball. Offense is way down in Major League Baseball this season, and we've seen them do something before in the past where they have different types of balls, and sometimes they'll start a season where the ball's different. I bet you they will slowly start to introduce new baseballs, and people will see that offense is on the rise a little bit, and they'll say, what's going on here? And they'll say, well, it's because of the warmer weather. No, keep an eye out for that. If offense starts to really takes off here in June, I bet you it's because they're swapping new baseballs in. I don't think there's going to be any way to officially prove that, but just a little bit of a conspiracy theory that I do have. Okay, so I think 6 total bets here for Major League Baseball for Metler and I. And ladies and gentlemen, it is a great day to be a walk better. So let's start things off with a walk parlay. My favorite here, Tyler Anderson, going to be pairing him with Ryan Feltner. Both of these guys have over 1.5 walks coming in at plus 128. Tyler Anderson, talk about this guy all the time. He is the walk god. 2 walks or more in 31 of his last 36 appearances. Padres, who he's playing here today or tonight, not a great walk team by any means, but this bet is much more about Anderson. Meanwhile, Ryan Feltner has 2 walks in 9 of his 11 starts this season. He's taking on the Reds, who are a great walk team. Sky-high walk numbers for them. The highest in baseball over the last week. If you want a bigger sample size, the second highest walk percentage over the last month in all of Major League Baseball. So a walk parlay. We are due to hit one of them. I think that day will come today. Another walk prop I like, Grayson Rodriguez, the Orioles. He's in Toronto going against the Blue Jays. I like him to have over 1.5 walks. Serious control issues for this guy. 4 games with 3 or more walks in his last 6 starts. 1 game where he had 5 against the dinky Chicago Shit Sox. Blue Jays, meanwhile, pretty good walk team. 4th in walk percentage versus righties over the last 2 weeks. And he's walked 2 or more in 8 of his last 10 starts on the road going back to last season. Pretty good number there on Grayson Rodriguez. Jon Metler getting into the baseball here with the NBA slowing down a little bit. So thankfully he'll be contributing there for us. He hit that big strikeout parlay last week. And you have Nathan Eovaldi strikeouts. What do you like or not like for him?
Yeah, I'm going back to some Tigers props for us too on Friday. So I'm going Nathan Eovaldi under 4.5 strikeouts. It was plus 115. So the reason this just caught my eye, 1, it was the projections on our website, but 2, the Tigers did option Spencer Torkelson yesterday down to AAA Toledo, and they called up I forget Justin Malloy. So just for Torkelson, it's kind of like one of those things kind of flies under the radar a bit, I would say, when you're betting a strikeout prop, just like 1 batter in, 1 batter out. But like he's a big batter out of the lineup when you're talking about a strikeout prop for an opposing pitcher. I mean, this guy was striking out at, it was last 4 games, 56.3% of the time. He's been, I think he's outside like 2 hits, something like 0 for 35. He's been absolutely terrible. That's a whole other story for Torkelson, but it's just one of those things, like you take a guy who's like a really high volume strikeout guy and you take him out of the lineup, but it impacts, like everything impacts a total, right? So For Eovaldi, on our covers, the EV analytics props we have on our prop projections, they had them at 4.4 or 4.4. That prices you about a minus 125 to go under the total 4.5. And then I grabbed it at plus 125. It was now plus 115. So like there's a nice gap there that you can take advantage of. So I was just looking at those props. You kind of also, the baseball side of things, Torkelson coming out, you have someone else going in, and the top of the lineup for the Tigers also kind of playing your like June theory. Top of the lineup had a good series against the Red Sox, so they could work them a little bit too, work up that pitch count. They were kind of swinging the bats a little better too for that. So I went Eovaldi under 4.5 strikeouts plus 115.
Okay, next up for me, hopefully juice baseballs in the Mets Nationals game, because I'm going to take Mets starter Tyler McGill to have under 2.5 earned runs. Small sample size here, but like I say, sample size has to start somewhere, and he is red hot to begin his season. A 1.69 ERA, and that's not pitching against the Marlins, ladies and gentlemen. Some strong competition. Dodgers, Guardians, and Brewers. No home runs allowed. 16 strikeouts in his last 2 starts. Washington is not strong competition. They are 27th in OPS versus righties over the last month. And the Nationals, they rank 27th in runs scored in innings 1 through 5 at home. So McGill should have an opportunity to get off to a strong start in this game. And John, once again, we're making a little bit of history here on Before You Bet, because I don't think we've ever had a home run bet, a dinger prop on the show before. So John, breaking barriers once again last week with the LPGA, and now with a home run bet. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I'm going, again, Tigers prop. Obviously, I'm more focused on the Tigers than any other team. So I'm going Riley Green over half a home run plus 520. I was wondering if this was the first home run prop ever on the show. For Green, he's coming off a monster series against the Red Sox. He had I think he had 2 hits in 3 of the games, 467 average, 1.29 OPS. Hopefully we get these juice baseballs you're talking about in this game. He kind of had his power kind of disappeared through the month of May, only 3 home runs compared to 7 in April. But the one thing that kind of caught my eye is, one, he had a home run in Boston. But the other thing outside of the hits, like obviously swinging the bat's good as all that stuff, but he also had 3 walks in that series against the Red Sox. So in terms of just like seeing the ball extremely well, it's kind of one of those things that that's something that really catches my eye, because not only was he getting hits, but like you're also getting walks. Obviously, he's very, very confident at the plate right now. This was at FanDuel. I bet this plus 520. Everyone else was about plus 470. So you're getting an extra like 50 cents compared to the rest of the market just by betting this at FanDuel. And then the projections I was looking at too, it kind of priced about plus 400. So like, do I expect him to hit a home run? No, but is it priced way longer than I think it should be? Yes. And that's what we always attack in sports betting. You're just attacking the probability gap. I think this should be closer to plus 400. So I'm going plus 520. Sign me up for Riley Green dinger.
Breaking barriers, something for everyone here on Before You Bets. LPGA, WNBA talk, and home run prop. Something for everyone. Jake F weighing in plus 600 on his local betting app. Jake from State Farm there weighing in. I like that.
That's a lot better. Take the plus 600. That's a good one.
Yeah, shop around for that one, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. My final pick for the show today, Matt Waldron. Not exactly a household name. Maybe someday soon, though. He's pitching for the Padres here. I like him to have under 2.5 earned runs, minus 135 on this one. So starting to put it together here after a pretty sketchy start. He has an ERA and FIP, both under 2 in his last 4 starts. He's taking on an Angels team that absolutely stinks versus right-handed pitching. 29th in OPS over the last month. Should have an excellent opportunity to mow them down, because they're especially cold lately. They are last in OPS over the last week of the regular season here. I got a case of the Mondays here, John. I have enough trouble stringing together words and sentences, but a little dopey here on a Monday here.
Need more coffee?
No, I had 3 cups here. I usually go 2. I usually go 2 back to back in the morning, and then sometimes around noon. I'm up fairly early. You're just a 1-cup guy or a no cup guy?
I go 1 cup in the morning when I wake up, and then I have an energy drink around noon 1. So I guess I'm kind of just as guilty, but I don't do 2 cups of coffee, 1 cup of coffee, and then 1 energy drink.
A daily energy drink?
Yeah, probably not good.
What
But
are you, Red Bull or Monster? We're trying to get some sponsors on here. So if you want to give one of Celsius, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Do they have
New
that
kid on the block
in Nova Scotia? We had to go to the States
They
to get
do.
it most of the time. They just brought it in.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't know if it's as good for me as they advertise, but I feel great after I have it. And I keep, when you're like searching through odds and looking at computer screens all day, it's keeps the vibes high. So keep her going.
There you go. Gonna keep those vibes high, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, yeah. So yeah, maybe a bit of a slow day in sports from a like big value, big game perspective, but things are about to ramp up here quite a bit. NBA finals get going on Thursday. The Stanley Cup finals, they have a little bit of a gap here too. They don't start until Saturday. We're gonna have a Stanley Cup finals betting preview on the show on Friday. Josh Ingles will be down to break that down for us because I haven't been following it very closely. I will root for Edmonton to take care of business there, though. On Wednesday's show, John's going to be back. We're going to have all of our best bets for game one of the NBA Finals. Neil Parker will be by for his coverage of the PGA tournament taking place this week. And I think we're going to, CFL season's kicking off here too. So we might have a little bit CFL coverage. There's some good betting spots there if you dig into the CFL, if it is your cup of tea. If winning money is your cup of tea,
yeah,
you're going to want to tune in now, right? John, do you follow the CFL at all?
Not really, no. Like kind of, but I don't have like I get more American stations being in Windsor off the aerial and stuff, so I've never really had much access to the CFL.
Yeah.
But I honestly do enjoy I like the rules. I think it's a great game. It's just not really like as a kid, it never really came across my television. So I don't really follow that closely.
I don't know if I could name a half a dozen players in the CFL. I do like the bigger field though. I don't like 3-down rule though, because I played football growing up. If you guys, most people watching are watching from the States, you probably don't know, but it's only 3 downs in Canadian football. I didn't like that, but there's a bigger field, so more room to make some plays and stuff like that.
I like the 20-yard end zone. I feel like that would be fun.
That's NFL. Huge too.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, let's end it at that. It's starting to get a little goofy here today. Wrapping right up, guys. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to today's show. If you like the show, it's very easy to let us know. Just hit the like button right down there on YouTube. Also, make sure you are subscribed to the Covers YouTube channel. Lots of great content here covering everything that there is to cover in the world of sports betting. Guys, best of luck with your bets tonight. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you again on Wednesday.